Hello and welcome to Creepy Cassetti. I am your host Dee. Before we even get started with this story, I need to say this. I send peace and healing to the concert goers, family and friends of concert goers, and the citizens of Houston still reckoning with the events of this tragedy. I'm so sorry, and many blessings to you all. I've collected quite a bit of information about the situation. Some first-hand accounts that I will be including in this video, and my sources, as always, will be in the description box below. But that being said, Houston Police Chief Troy Benner says that the investigation could take weeks to months to complete, so the information provided in this video could change with new info being provided. But whatever that investigation discovers about the incident, one thing is very clear: this was a tragedy that should never have occurred. So what the hell happened at ASTROWORLD? Let's start with what ASTROWORLD is for those who are unfamiliar. ASTROWORLD is a 2-day annual music festival organized by Travis Scott that started in 2018. That name was inspired by the Six Flags ASTROWORLD theme park that used to stand near the site where the festival takes place, and it's also the name of his studio album and was named as such as a homage to the old theme park. So far, the festival has only missed 1 year, the year that shall not be named because, Rona. But if the past is any indication of future events, then 2019's ASTROWORLD Festival was an omen of fatalities to come. It was the 2019 festival when 3 people were injured as a human stampede burst through the festival entrance, trampling some guests and causing the gate and barricade to collapse. And Travis Scott, whose government name is Jacquees Webster, is the type of artist who encourages wildly belligerent behavior. He is what the industry would call a rager. His music and performances are designed to inspire hyper-aggressive behavior and for people to let loose or rage. And while that's all well and good, safety first, right? Well, fan safety doesn't seem to always be Mr. Scott's top priority, which becomes clear when you look into prior charges he's incurred for inciting riots and disorderly conduct at his concerts, and even having the audacity to belittle his security staff in front of a large crowd and egg people in the crowd on to push past the barriers and security. The barriers and personnel who are hired to keep the fans and the artists safe. So this is someone who is a blatant disregard for the safety of the people around him and maybe even himself. Before the music could even begin, craziness was ensuing, with reports of people walking around with syringes injecting other concertgoers with unknown drugs. One report states an officer had to be resuscitated with Narcan after he passed out during a conversation about his health after he felt a jab to the neck while trying to restrain a concertgoer. That's a whole different issue, and you have no idea who else was poked with that needle. He could very easily have gotten some bloodborne illness, and not just him, but anyone else who was a victim. So please make sure to get tested and see your doctor if you were one of the individuals who was attacked. At 9:15 on November 5th, 2021, a packed crowd of over 50,000 people surged towards the concert stage, causing what the media is calling a crowd crush. Bodies were packed together tightly, people dancing, moshing, flailing wildly, and people started to pass out. And those who did pass out were quickly trampled. Accounts reference there being no breathing room. People were just closed in so tightly, breathing each other's air. And I heard one account where one girl had to literally dig her nails into a man's arm because it was crushing her windpipe. There were concert goers trying to pull unconscious people off to the side to receive aid. Because of the 2019 incidents, they had even upped the number of police officers to over 528 members. And Live Nation, the entertainment company, also hired 755 private security officers. It simply was not enough. I don't know if the 50,000 people includes the police officers, security, and medical personnel, but it is clear that they were greatly outnumbered. Some fans had to step in and perform CPR on their fellow concert goers, with one nurse who had been there to enjoy the concert giving a depressing account. I just left ASTROWORLD Festival, and let me say this: someone who has been to every AstroFest there's been, this was completely different. It was awful. I passed out because people were pushing up against me so much that I couldn't breathe. Sam got people to apparently crowd surf my unconscious body to the security guard, and I got carried to a little section behind GA and put down on a stool thing. When I woke up, I had a water bottle in my lap and had no clue what had happened. When I stood up, I looked around and people were getting carried out with their eyes rolled back in the back of their heads by security, bleeding from their nose and mouth. I yelled, "Has anybody checked a pulse?" The security guard, frantic, asked me to please help him. I checked 2 people, one did not have a pulse. I told them I was an ICU nurse, and then another security guard, hearing that, said, please come help us. He takes me to the back of the crowd behind GA, where I see 3 bodies sprawled out and people who I assume were medics or medical staff doing CPR. I immediately see that there is not enough medics for this, so I relieve 1 medic of CPR. I ask where the ambu bag is, where the AED is, where the stretcher and ambulance is, where TF any is, and they said essentially there is none. Another viral account of the events from a TikTok user recalls the event as hellacious.
It just felt like we was like literally like in fucking hell, bro. Like it felt like we was in a concert in hell. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see. Like, just imagine all the people they gonna find tonight who was in that crowd, who nobody could see, who nobody could hear, who passed out, and everybody was just trampling on top of them the whole fucking concert. Like, I'm thinking it's probably gonna be like at least 100 people who dead tonight. Like, I kid you not. Like, in the VIP section, it was so many bodies laid out. People was getting pulled out who was fainted, and the medics were trying to give them CPR, and they was flipping them over, and like they was literally turning black and blue. Like, I never seen death in my fucking life, bro. Just by me alone, it was probably like 10 fucking people laid out dead. And like, once the medics tried to help them, they wasn't responding. They moved to the next person. It was nothing they could have do. Like, this really fucked me up and like really spooked me tonight. Like, that was like some demonic shit. Like, and what was so crazy, like, people were screaming help, trying to tell Travis Scott. They was like, help. The whole crowd was just going like, help, help, help. And he just kept going, bro. It was like, this shit was scary, bro. It was so demonic, bro. And mind you, y'all see the type of music I make. Y'all see everything, like, you know, like, I've been so heavily influenced by Travis, but like, after tonight, bro, like, God really showed me, like, you know, like, stay away from that shit, bro. Like, shit not for you, because, like, he sacrificed so many people's lives tonight, like, for real. Like, so many people's lives are gone tonight because they want to go to a fucking Travis Scott concert and have fun. You know, he influenced people to be raging and all this shit. So many people broke in, and it was just chaos, bro. It was a living fucking hell, bro. Imagine seeing all those dead bodies, and that was just by me.
The events are starting to stir up some paranormal and conspiracy theorist ideals, stating that this may have been Illuminati related, that Travis Scott was sacrificing his concert goers. I don't necessarily know that I believe that. It just seems like a lot of people and not enough space and really too much going on, but I digress. So I guess that it makes complete sense that even though footage shows that Scott was looking directly at chaos ensuing in the middle of an intensely frenzied and packed crowd of 50,000 people, even though people were dropping like flies, the music just kept going. And some reports state that there were pockets of the crowd creating protective circles around people who had passed out, even with ambulance carts struggling to make their way through the crowd. Part of that struggle being attributed to some jerks deciding to jump and dance on top of the ambulance cart. And honestly, this is vile. How are you all feeling knowing that your nonsense could have meant the difference between life and death for another human being? Seriously, shame on you. And at one point, the crowd was screaming, "Stop the show!" He played for a full 40 minutes, officially finishing his set at 10:15 p.m. There were people climbing camera stands to get the attention of the cameraman, who just blew them off. But as anyone who has ever worked backstage at a concert or even school play knows, those microphones are direct lines to the people in charge. Chief Finner's briefing on November 10, 2021 stated the issue lay in a lack of knowing who was responsible for pulling the plug. But there was a safety plan drawn out by the event planners that even included language for identifying dead concert goers, choosing to call them Smurfs, and to avoid using the words dead or deceased. That same document apparently lists a clear chain of command in the event of a serious incident. The people responsible for pulling the plug were the festival director and the executive producer. But that begs the question, were they not aware of what was going on? Who dropped the ball? Was the chaos so much that no one was able to report the numerous deaths to the people in charge? Why didn't the music stop after one? I know that fans would have been more than happy to pause the entertainment at least long enough to get people off the ground into some semblance of safety. And as a result of this entirely preventable mass casualty event, so far we have a victim count of 10, and their range ranges from 10 to 27. The number of casualties given directly after the event was 8. Since then, woman, a 22-year-old college student, and a 10-year-old boy have both died. I am older than every person who died at this event, and it really puts things into perspective and makes the situation even more heartbreaking. These were very, very young people, high school students, college students, someone's babies. On top of the 9 casualties, we have 300 people injured, and at least 25 of those 300 people had to be treated in the hospital. Let's not even go into the fact that that's 25 more people taking up beds in a hospital in the middle of a pandemic. But I digress again. The 10-year-old who passed on recently was in a medically induced coma for quite some time, as he had fallen from his father's shoulders as his own dad had passed out in the crowd, and they both tumbled. The little boy was then trampled. Videos of the event show pure chaos. It shows people trying to get anyone's attention, trying to get someone to turn the lights on and stop the music just long enough to get people off the ground into safety, but no, there was no stopping. There was barely any acknowledgement for the people Travis clearly saw hitting the ground. There's just no way that he didn't see all this chaos going on. There's just no way. There's just no way that I, as an artist, would continue to perform when there were multiple people clearly in distress. Someone should have pulled the plug and took the heat later. And I have to wonder how many people would have lived or avoided injury had someone had the wherewithal to just pull the... As an artist, you have complete command of your audience. You are the one holding the microphone. If you say stop, they have no choice but to stop. There is no music for them to keep going to. And while I can't even place sole blame on Travis Scott, I do believe he knew more and didn't use his power to change the outcome. Live Nation seemed to have a game plan in place, but again, who dropped the ball? The police should have pulled the plug. The cops walk up to the stage and say, hey, there are a few people in distress, things are really getting out of hand, stop the music for a second. This would have been even better. So many things went wrong here. That being said, I'm not saying that we need to crucify anyone involved in this situation, but everyone needs to be held accountable, and maybe this tragedy can be a learning experience and create a baseline for good medical and security to event goer ratio, and maybe there will actually be laws enacted to protect people at these events. And I have to say, Travis Scott's apology was severely lacking.
I just want to send out prayers to the ones that was lost last night. We're actually working right now to identify the families so we can help assist them through this tough time. You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience. And anytime I can make out, anything that's going on, I stop the show and, help them get the help they need, I could just never imagine the severity of the situation. We've been working closely with everyone to just try to get to the bottom of this. The City of Houston, HPD, Fire Department, everyone to, help us figure this out. So if you have any information, please just contact your local authorities. Everybody continue to just keep your prayers. I mean, I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening. And I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated and just keep you guys informed on what's going on. Love you all.
Okay. I knew when I saw it, it just came off as disingenuous. Just not the emotions that I would expect from someone who, is supposedly so devastated by the situation. It just kind of seems like he got caught with his pants down, and he felt like he needed to say something so we wouldn't think he was just completely heartless about the situation. But I would have held off, honestly. I wasn't feeling it. Let's put it that way. In the meantime, I just ask that you all stay safe and many blessings. Sorry for the go off, and I hope you all are having a wonderful rest of your week.